As I'm setting this up, just taking a minute to land in your own body, feeling what it feels like to be you today, feeling what it feels like to be in your body today without trying to, I'm setting this up, just taking a, there we go, without trying to fix it or change it or be different than you already are. So I'm going to start seated, and I am sitting on a little physio ball. You can be seated throughout this class. You can be laying down. You can do whatever feels good in your body. And you can take it with as much movement or as little movement as feels right for you. So let's come in just with your eyes. If it's possible, maybe take your hands on your chin so that you're not going to move your head, but just let your eyes just move gently from side to side. Doesn't have to be a lot of movement, can just be a little bit, but taking in the room. Interesting for me to feel how much I feel resistant to holding my head still. So you can let go of your head and let your neck turn and just allow yourself to take in your environment without the like, oh my God, I got to clean that, or without the story of the environment coming in, just taking the information, the colors you see, the shapes you see, and the space around you, the spaciousness around your body, however big or small it is. Opening up your awareness into your kinesphere. So your kinesphere is like your realm of potential movement, the space around your body. Just bringing that in as a support for your whole body, this relationship to kinesphere, this relationship to potential movement. And when we turn our heads side to side and we take in our environment, we're giving our brainstem the information that we are safe and nothing is about to jump out at us, hopefully, unless you have little pouncing animals in your house or people. So giving your body the information that you're safe and letting that movement get smaller and smaller. So turning your head from side to side still a little bit. And you can also do this laying down. But as you're turning your head from side to side, also feel into the movement of your eyes within that. Like it doesn't have to be completely even. The eyes can kind of meander in the space around you as you're taking in the space. Feeling the movement in your occipital joint, where your cranium connects on to your spine. And if it feels good at some point, you can also close your eyes and let it get smaller and just feel into that movement of your head on top of your spine. And it doesn't have to just go side to side. You can stop and take your time in one area. Allowing your interest or your curiosity to enter what it feels like to have a head on top of your body. And what it feels like to move. So the quality of the movement as you're turning your head from side to side, meaning, is it gliding? Does it feel crunchy? Is there smoothness? And what does it feel like in your shoulders and spine as you turn your head? And we're not here to fix it or to, work something out. We're just here to experience what's going on, feeling into our bodies here. Let it get smaller and smaller till it's almost not moving, just small, small movement. With your eyes closed, if it feels okay, coming into smaller and smaller movement until you can almost not tell if you're moving. So small that you're just feeling into. Maybe nobody could see it on the outside, but you can feel into whether there's movement or not from the inside. And letting your awareness rest in that place. In the place of whatever's coming online for you. So whatever you're noticing, just letting yourself rest with that. Softening your jaw so that if your teeth are closed, let them open slightly. Tongue can be on the roof of the mouth, behind the teeth. And let's start to play with a hum. So the humming sound, like mm, and then we inhale through our nose. When we make a humming sound and we inhale back through our nose, we're increasing the production of nitric oxide in the turbines in our nose, and that is a vasodilator. It gives us more space in our vascular system. So in our heart, in our veins, in our arteries, it is affecting the endothelium of our heart, the cell linings of the structures of the veins, the arteries, the heart. It's also an antibacterial, antifungal, and antiviral. So we want to exhale with the hum for as long as it feels good, and then just inhale back through our nose. And we'll play with that a little while. Allow your tongue to kind of undulate within your mouth. So you're not holding it rigid, you're giving some movement. It can help if you just gently open and close your jaw as you're doing that. You may have your head turning a little bit from side to side, experiencing what it feels like to have this head, this jaw, this tongue with the hum. And we'll feel more interoception inside our bodies if we do it with eyes closed. But if it's more comfortable to have your eyes open, that is also fine. So we'll do this for a couple of minutes, letting your tongue undulate inside. Maybe it's exploring inside your mouth. Going on an exploration, a curious journey into what it feels like to have a head, to have a jaw, to have a tongue, playful. Allowing yourself to sense the vibration of the sound in the dome of your head. Maybe you can feel it down through your throat and chest as well. Just tuning into where do you feel, hear, sense this sound. I also feel like for me, when I'm creating, I'm playing with the negative space between the roof of my mouth and my tongue. So my soft palate, hard palate, and tongue are having like a little bit of, I want to say like an oceanic relationship where the fluids in my body are moving like water, like an ocean. So letting that relationship of space between my tongue and the roof of my mouth play with some freedom, moving like water in my tongue. Mm. Mm. There isn't really a right or wrong way about doing this. We're just going into the exploration. So we're humming, we're letting the space inside of our mouth renegotiate its spaciousness, the tongue, the jaw. And we're allowing ourselves to re-inhale, taking in as big a breath as you need, taking resting breaths whenever you need. So we're not forcing anything here. And if it's interesting for you to keep turning your head a little bit as the sound is coming, feel free to do that. So anytime we're doing that head turn, we can do it with really small awareness focused right in sort of on that occipital joint where our head is connecting on. And that's where most of the movement is coming. in that occipital joint and that first vertebrae. Big capacity for movement. So we can take in the outer world and be expansive in our awareness in the outer, or we can take it very deep and focused inside, just feeling the movement in. So allowing that to be part of your play for right now, that you're playing with this, letting your awareness open out, maybe opening your eyes, checking out the environment, and then coming back into that very specific area. You can use the sound or not. And if you've done it a few times, it might be like, okay, that's enough. Like we want to really listen and honor our body. Like when we start to feel like, okay, kind of tired, kind of over it, or this is stressing me out, let go of it. So we're always honoring our body, the wisdom of our body as we practice. And you can do this laying down. You could even do it on all fours. You can do it on your seated or standing. Bringing your awareness really in, focusing in, absorbing in, and then opening it back out and taking in the world. And feeling how that affects your system. Like for you, like when I open out, does it feel expansive and openy, or does it feel like, no, I just want to go back in? So if you notice that one of those, you're called to spend more time in one of those places, just honor that, go with that. And it can be nice just to come back in. Like there's this natural expansion and contraction going on in our life with our breath, with the universe. In Hindu Tantra, it's called the spanda, which is like this creation of life as form evolves. So we're just kind of playing with that, opening out and coming back in, opening out and coming back in, or just staying in, or just staying out, right? So we're playing with how our awareness is engaging with our body, with curiosity. If you find something interesting on your travels within, just stick there for a little while. And if you find something interesting in the outer world, stick there for a while. But try to stay present with sensation. If you start wandering into storyland and, oh, this happened and that happened, it can be there, but don't give it your awareness. So we're not locking anything out, but we want to keep coming back to the experience and writing the possibilities of experience. I'm going to do a couple more hums, and then I'll add some other stuff to this. We're not shutting anything out of experience. So as I was humming that time, and I sort of noticed my movement, I felt also that I could still take in the outer world even with my eyes closed. So there's many senses, we can smell, we can hear, we can taste, we can feel. So there's the exteroception, the sense of what's happening on the outside, proprioception, our awareness of movement, catception, the little cat that walks through the room. And then there's interoception, our feeling of what's going on inside. And we're just staying in these different awarenesses, or maybe all of them are online, maybe you're kind of dancing through them. Let's start to bring in the whole head-tail connection. So thinking of the bulb of your brain with all the fluid around it, cerebral spinal fluid, moving down through your spinal cord, through that hole in the center of your head, your foramen magnum going down. And we're just bringing that fluidity online of this energy system of our head, brain, down to our nervous system, which is routed out through our whole body, routed out through our fascia. And letting the information come back in, inviting in micro movement, or macro movement could be very big or it could be very small. Like the more subtle we start to sense movement, the easier it is to start to drop the armoring and stuff like that. But sometimes we have to go big before we can go small. So honor your own system, listening into what feels good and interesting to you. As we bring on this head tail connection, we could also think into the bones of our spine and the discs in there supporting the bones. And as we move, we're bolstering up those discs, right? Movement supports our spine. So we're not going for massive twisting or forward folding or arching, unless we are. You could if you wanted to. But we're working maybe more on a subtle micro level where we're letting the body adjust and readjust as feels good to us. So inviting the wisdom of our body online. What can we do? We can arch and curl. We can send waves through the body. We can spiral. We can ripple. We can wave. We can undulate. So inviting in that sort of fluid, watery nature, that element of water into our experience. And water has many different expressions, right? It could be a river flowing. It could be the ocean, which could be very still or incredibly wild. So imagining that fluid flow or water flow has a lot of capacity for expression. Even like steam is a kind of water flow. So thinking of that, all those movement expression capacities within our system. So inviting in however your fluid water flow is expressing. Water can trickle, it can come down in rain. But water really knows gravity. Water will always feel where down is. So letting yourself feel the gravitational pull of the earth through the water in your body. As you move, the water is moving and you're inviting that in. So bringing on this head tail connection. And one way you could think about it is as if you had never conceived of being a human and you've just landed in this body and you're like, what can I do? What is possible in here? How do I move? And a great inspiration as I'm working with this ocean imagery and this water imagery is like an octopus. Imagining that your spine has like octopus awareness and octopus movement capacity, which means it can shift and change and adjust all within the intelligence of your own system. So you're not forcing anything into it. You're not imposing your ideas of what should be on it. You're allowing it to express and bubble up in the as is. This is what's happening, and I'm allowing movement. And it may be that no movement is coming, and you're just going, what am I supposed to do? So arch, curl, imagine you are a seagrass, and how would that seagrass be moving, or some seaweed moving in the ocean? Just inviting in the water element, finding fluidity, hydrating your system. So as we do all this micro movement, we are hydrating the tissue. We're nourishing and removing waste, right? Movement hydrates tissue. Letting yourselves find out what it is to be in our human body and what's possible. Letting go of our previous conceptions of being a human in a body and feeling into it with freshness, with newness. And every day is a different day in your body. We're layering in our experience and we're inviting our body to release any excess tension, any holding patterns, or even ideas that aren't serving us. Invite it to release. As soon as I thought of the idea of ideas, my head went into this other pattern. It's like, oh, yeah, all the thinking, all the concepts that don't support the reality of what's going on. Just let them wash away, reabsorbed by the elements. We're really focusing more on fluidity and water today. So the water element in the head tail, but there's an underlying earthiness within our bones, within our fascia, within our relationship to the planet. That is there supporting us too. There is the breath support, right? The oxygen coming, the CO2 going out. And there is the fire of our energy. Our heartbeat is powered by electricity. So that's another type of flow, even that electrical flow. And the fire of being, right? Our heat, our passion, our drive, it's all in there. But let's just keep tuning back to the fluidity of the water element. And if you find yourself in movement patterns that keep repeating, change them slightly. So you could slow it down. You could change the space. You could change your relationship to gravity. We want to investigate novel patterning so that we can start to shift out of whatever sort of restrictive patterning we've taken on, whatever kind of holding patterns we have learned how to be, which have served us to come to this point, but maybe they're not serving us for the next moment. So inviting ourselves to find freedom within our tissue by going to new places. If you start to shift and change your movement, you'll start to shift and change your mind. You'll start to open it up. So real freedom in a system. And it doesn't mean that you can like do the splits or something like that. It's more that there's not a tension pattern holding you back. It's more that things can move through you and with you. You can be in life and not be fighting it, not resisting it. So real freedom in our tissue is going to open up our minds a lot, right? Oh, suddenly I feel a little more expansive. I feel a little different. And if it feels destabilizing, then we just come into stillness. We come back to our familiar pattern. So I'm going to add music and let us play without talking quite so much with these ideas. And this music is by Jeff Gersh. Oh, we'll go with Ambient Fields, album number 4, song number 1. And let the music wash into your experience as something to inspire, to shape, to work with you in an interesting way and what feels interesting, what feels good. I'm going to take it down to the floor. Again, letting the fluid in your body relate to the gravitational pull of the earth, connecting you downwards. And I find that rolling around on the floor helps my body become a lot more resilient. So invite yourself down if that feels good, or stay seated, or laying down in a bed, moving more, moving less. However it feels interesting, just going on your exploration. You can add sound whenever you want, go back to that hum, or not. Becoming curious about what it feels like to be you in movement. Even if the movement's just the breath. It sounds funny to say just the breath, but even if you're in relative stillness, there's still a lot of movement inside. Tuning into micro adjustments, micro movement. Inviting your body to downregulate. So when we come into these slower processes, this slower movement and slower breath, extending our exhales, we're going to naturally downregulate, coming into a more parasympathetic state, which is rest and digest, soothe and settle. So this is where we can heal from, where we can process life from. And sometimes when we're in these processes, things come up. Emotions might come up. Memories might come up. Things that you maybe haven't focused on may come up and through. So be very gentle and kind with yourself, allowing judgment to slip out the door and just being present with like your heart center, with kindness. Take away the perfectionism, coming into the sort of biomorphic aliveness, vitality, a fluid system operating in a coherent manner where your mind, your heart, your guts are in alignment or moving towards alignment, where your circulation and your respiration and your hormones are all working together towards your greater good, your health. And when we come into a down-regulated pattern, we give our body the chance, we give it the support it needs. To move through material and to get healthier. I've got the Peapod in the room now. Peapod is a Manx cat, so don't be worried about her tail. She was born that way. Just in case you see her. When we're in a gentler place with our own body, with our own self, the world can do all its things, but we don't need to be like blaming everyone else or all the other things or pointing our fingers outward. We can just be like a little more spacious, a little more equanimity in the way that we interact with the world. Less trying to control and force things, and more in harmony with what is going on. And maybe that's not the right way of putting it, being in harmony with what is going on, because there's a lot of things going on that are pretty, you can't be in harmony with, but at least have a very, I don't know, allow your own system to heal as much of the trauma that is going on so that you're not passing it on or reacting to things and adding more trauma to the world. I guess that's the way that I'm saying it. That's the way I see the harmony, is like we're doing the work to process a lot of emotional stuff that's hanging in people's systems. And it doesn't have to be that, oh, I come in here and have this big emotional experience. It can just be that I'm giving my body the space to do its own work, to allow expression to move through me. What can I let go of in the microcosm of myself in comparison to the macrocosm of the world, so that I'm not adding to it? Which doesn't mean we become squishy noodles that don't have an opinion. It's just that we're more clear with what we can allow in our own life or not allow, right? What we say no to or what we say yes to becomes more clear. And maybe even like from this place, sending metta out into the world from a place where your heart is more supported. There is more capacity to send loving kindness out into the world, to care. And yeah, I feel like the deeper you get into really opening up your system, it's not like it suddenly becomes easier, but it becomes aligned, it becomes integrated, it has integrity and vitality. We will be in this body mind for the rest of our lives. So the more we can harmonize our own experience with ourself, not objectifying our own body, the better our relationship we can have to ourselves and to ourself, right? The cells hear everything. The cells know what you are thinking. The cells of your body, the fluids of your body. You aren't separate from your mind and your body. It's one connected system. Is there something I can let go of? Is there something I can soften as I am in my exploration? And we're not denying any parts of ourself, right? Everyone, every part of ourself, every one of us is invited to the game. Everyone is part of this experience, not shutting anyone out. The head tail connection, intrinsic in the head tail connection, is our head, our heart, our gut body, right? That's all part of that line. And our nervous system is routing out to the distal edges, to our fingertips and toes, and then coming back in. So that head tail connection is this foundational, basic supporting place for a lot of our life force and energy. And while we're in the exploration, you may have parts of you that feel pain. So try to also find parts that feel good. Find stuff that's delicious and let your awareness go back and forth between the delicious and the painful. So sometimes we think like all of our movement is this bone and muscle and tendon, ligament doing everything. But what if we just really move from the fluids? Can the fluids in our body inform our movement, like literally inform, create the form of our movement so that we're shaping in a different way, moving with less tension? And maybe it's just an idea. Maybe it's just an imaginal practice to move from the fluids. But it will certainly change the quality of your movement if you can imagine that. A lot of times in the West, we're trained to work with maximum tension and grip harder and just push more. But on a body level, if we push harder and grip more, our body doesn't really respond well to that. Our life force energy gets a little shut. Like if you push into something, does it let go or does it hold more? Right. So listening in for that. I mean, sometimes resistance is delicious, and sometimes we do want to push and pull and get into the tea of life. But there are other ways. Moving from the experience, experiencing the fluid in your body, experiencing the flow in your body, and letting that speak. And it may be, again, very sort of specific, direct focus, or it may be very multi-focused, very sort of pan-focused, open awareness that's taking it all in, or specific pinpointed awareness that's really in one place. Or it could be washing back and forth between those two. I'm just going to take the sound down and give us a minute or two of silence just to process the processing. So when I first started doing like these kind of somatic dives and practices, I always felt like it's not like I come out of it like if I had taken a yoga class or a Pilates class or gone for a walk where I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to go. It's more like, oh, now I got to go deeper. Oh, I need to spend more time doing this. So it's not something that you can necessarily come out of super quickly. It's giving yourself time to just rest in your experience for a couple of breaths. Maybe movement is still happening, maybe not. Feeling into what it is to be you right now. I'm going to come back in. I'm just going to say one thing before I stop the live stream, and that is that I'm going to be doing a movement for meditators course on Sunday afternoons. So if you are interested in that, let me know. It's going to start in February. And I am going to go offline. You can reach out to me through my website or here.